In episode 2 of Inspired Infrastructure, I decided to dive into my old stomping grounds of Chicago, Illinois, and look at Clark Street near Wrigley Field. Clark Street is one of Chicago's unique and important spoke routes, which are these diagonally oriented streets that stretch out from Chicago's downtown like spokes on a bike wheel. These are important and well-traveled streets for all modes of transportation as they connect these outer neighborhoods of the city with its urban downtown core. And despite its importance and popularity within Wrigleyville here, Clark Street is cramped. There's just 66 feet of right-of-way with sidewalks on both sides that aren't overly wide. There's parking lanes on both sides of the street, and then all that's left is room for just one shared lane of traffic in each direction. So how do we improve this street's safety and mobility for all roadway users? I decided to go with the easier said than done option of removing one full lane of parking on one side of the road to add a street level two-way bike facility separated by some frequently spaced precast concrete blocks. This is likely the quickest and lowest cost modification of this roadway since we don't have to move the curb lines with this kind of improvement. We can keep that same curb to curb width, which means we don't have to reconstruct a lot of pavement or move drainage structures and do a lot of subsurface improvements as well. Now, removing parking in Chicago is quite the challenge. For one, and this applies to all municipalities, business owners in these areas don't often have parking lots or garages nearby and rely on this street parking for their livelihood. But this is made even more complicated in Chicago based on the fact that Chicago's on-street parking has been privatized since 2008. So the city can't just remove a paid parking space if they want. They need to work with the private company to relocate these paid spaces somewhere else that isn't paid so that that private company can generate a similar amount of revenue in that new location. And I'm sure around Wrigley Field, that's going to be quite the challenge. Additionally, Clark Street is a bus route with frequent bus stops. So today, those buses are able to pull out of that lane and into the parking lane to drop people off on the sidewalk. Whereas in this project, if we were to take away that parking lane on the right side, we'll need a special design like an in-lane bus stop that would drop people off onto a bus boarding island that maybe sits in a widened buffer area between the lane and the bikeway. With Beyond Typicals, I was able to create the existing and proposed condition models in about 7 minutes. And then I decided to go get a street view image and use our photo compositing feature to merge my model with real-world imagery, and that took only about another 10 minutes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this redesign and on these visualizations, so please leave your feedback and stay tuned for another episode coming soon.